So I'm gonna get started. Growing up, my mom always gave me 3 pieces of advice. Always be curious, never fear to be different, and when someone passes down wisdom, be gracious about receiving it and pocket it and use it when necessary. And that advice served me well throughout my life. When all my friends became teachers in college, I went to journalism school. I became a journalist who took a professor's advice to when journalism was going from print and magazines and digital and the internet was becoming a thing. My professor advised me, pursue that. That's where the careers are. So I came to Putman about 10 years ago and was put in charge of digital operations for foodprocessing.com. And throughout those 10 years, I have covered the top food companies. I've covered the likes of Indra Nui, Denise Morrison, and Irene Rosenfeld. And I have been in awe of these women, the CEOs of these top food companies. And I was always curious, and I always wanted to learn about how they always seem to have it all, the typical have it all. They had careers, families, and they had companies that respected them. I was just always curious and fascinated with that. And in 2015, I kind of got my big break. There was a group of women who had created this project called Words of Wisdom from CEOs in the country. And they came to food processing, came to me and said, hey, you've got the pulse, you've got the beat on the food industry. We want to help you, give you the advice and push you through to do a project for women in the food industry. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm all over it. So I set out asking people, used the audience that we have for foodprocessing.com, and asked on our website, who do you think are some of the most amazing, cool women, just inspiring women that you can think of? And what came out of that, and I apologize to Jolene's daughter, but this is the name of the program, we called it Kick-Ass Women in Food. And you have to understand that when we were putting this together, I was also training for my black belt in karate. So anything having to do with the word kick-ass or being a strong woman or something to that effect was all over it. So thus created what became 15 women who provided words of wisdom from kick-ass women in food. And it started in 2015 and kind of headed to heyday 2015 to 2016. And we continued. We talked about it, we promoted it. It kind of lost some steam toward the end of 2016. And it never died, though, in my eyes, and it never died in my email because we would get, or I would get, and then our editor-in-chief of the magazine, Dave Fusaro, would get emails asking, hey, are you going to do one of those? Because I know an amazing woman. I know a kick-ass woman. I want to nominate somebody. And so after about the 20th email, or the 20th person asking, hey, are you going to do that again? I thought, you know what? This thing has legs. Let's do something with it. Let's bring it back. So I did what I normally do at Putman, and I walked over to some of my 2 favorite people that I get to work with. Walked over to Christine and Alexis, and I'm like, hey, I have an idea. Kick-Ass Women in Food was really awesome, and it got a lot of excitement. We had people like Shazi Vizram, who is the CEO of Happy Family. She was one of our kick-ass women. Jill Littman, who's the CEO of Peace of Mind. She was a kick-ass woman. Angie Bastian, the CEO of Angie's Boom Chicka Pop. Her email, I will never forget, it will be ingrained in my brain for the rest of my life, which is, I'm on my way to pick up my kids from school. They are going to think it's so cool that I'm a kick-ass woman. And that sort of thing just makes my soul it makes everything in life worth it when you hear something like that. So I'm like, let's replicate that, but let's make it bigger because we can, and because there are other women in other fields that we want to hear from. So we kicked it up a notch. And we decided, let's try this. At Putman Media, we cover all elements of manufacturing, pharmaceutical, a lot of STEM technology, as you well know because you're here at the SI conference, a lot of technology, manufacturing, chemical, oil, you name it. We cover it all. So we wanted to replicate that and bring in the opportunities. So I'm trying to come up with a name. New Kick-Ass might not play well in Peoria anymore. So we wanted to come up with something that had a little, something you could tell your kids, put on a placard and whatnot. And we liked influencer. And while influencer has some social media cred, social media cred right now, if you're an influencer, we thought we want to know who the women are that are influencing change in the industry. We wanted to meet the change agents, the women who were breaking through glass ceilings. And if they weren't breaking through glass ceilings, they were at least breaking down doors and just opening up opportunities for other women, not only themselves, but maybe for other women. And so we created the Influential Women in Manufacturing program. And it's been just a little under a year since we were sitting in a conference room at Putman Media and came up with this idea. And it has been the most exhilarating, almost year, to come up with this, to actually be standing here and to have met all of the women that we're honoring. It's been unreal and surreal, quite frankly. So I'm gonna hand this off now to Alexis, who's gonna talk about our methodology and exactly what went into how we figured out who the influential women in manufacturing are.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know, we began the program in January of 2018. We knew the IWIM program was going to be too large and too important to be contained to just one brand or two brands. So we reached out to the editors at our sister publications, and with their help, we made IWIM a Putman-wide initiative. For the next 3 months, we worked to get the word out to our readers, our peers, fellow organizations, and our personal heroes. To be considered for the program, we were looking for nominees with at least a few years of experience in the manufacturing or industry production field. We wanted women who were respected in their fields, had accomplished something that had moved the company or their department or their team forward, had fostered the growth of women in manufacturing, or had demonstrated thought leadership regardless of her title or role. By the end of March, we had collected 100 nominations and exceeded our expectations. We then created a committee of Putman employees from across brands and job disciplines to help us narrow down the list. It was a very difficult endeavor since each submission was more touching and heartfelt than the last. We were truly inspired and humbled by every nominee. After a month of hard work and a few disagreements, we had dwindled the list down to our official 22 honorees, many of whom are here today. We then asked each honoree to answer one of two questions. Who has been your greatest personal or professional influence, and how are you influencing the next generation of manufacturing leaders? These form the basis of our 2018 honoree ebooks, which you can find at your tables. I also just wanted to take a second to acknowledge the talent and dedication of Jen Dacus, who couldn't be here today. She's our artistic maven. She designed the IWIM logo, the ebooks, and every other crazy idea we had. I can't really imagine the IWIM program without her. 2018 might be heralded as the year of the woman, but we plan on making 2019 the year of the influential woman. Next year, we'll be launching a website dedicated to the program and covering various workforce and skill gap issues. We also plan on launching a podcast series moderated by the women of Putman Media and featuring influential women from all aspects of manufacturing and production. And here to talk a little bit more about women in the industry is Christine.
Well, thank you again as well, everyone who joined us today. It's great to see so many people, honorees and their supporters, and other conference attendees here today. When we came together to develop the IWIM program, we were all keenly aware of the much talked about statistics. about manufacturing's projected workforce shortage. According to a widely cited study from Deloitte and the Manufacturing Institute, U.S. manufacturers could face a shortfall of 2.5 million workers by 2025. By now, this isn't news. Manufacturers already are contending with waves of retirements and are working really hard to convince young people that traditional perceptions of manufacturing are just that, traditional, outdated, not at all in line with today's sleek, clean manufacturing facilities and the efficient, high-tech reality of much of today's manufacturing work. It's also not news that women can play a key role in addressing manufacturing's serious labor crunch. While women make up 47% of the overall US labor force, they represent only 29% of the manufacturing workforce. We in this room know, that manufacturing offers high-quality jobs with incredible opportunities for advancement. These are family-sustaining jobs, personally rewarding jobs for individuals across a wide range of educational backgrounds and professional interests. Who better to tell this story, to show opportunities for personal achievement and for being part of a team and an industry that's doing meaningful and important work than women? The work you are doing, IWIM honorees, in reaching out to young people and engaging them about where a manufacturing career can take them is so vital. Your mentorship of women in the industry, of new women in the industry, is vital. Your mentorship of women who've been in the industry for several years and are contemplating their next career moves is so vital. You are vital, and we thank you. I have to point out as well at this point that this idea of supporting and advancing women into key leadership roles, it's personal for Putman Media. In 1973, John and Grace Capoletti, parents of our current CEO, John Capoletti, had the opportunity to purchase Putman Publishing. John had been rising through the ranks at Putman. Grace was focused on raising the couple's 5 children. The couple bought the company together, and John led it until he passed away from cancer in 1981. Following his passing, Grace stepped in and took the helm, and she steered the company from 1981 until she retired in 2004. She dove in and led, and her legacy continues to inspire those of us at Putman today. Women get stuff done. Among the 3 of us, we've joked that should be our theme for next year. But in reading through this year's Influential Women in Manufacturing nominations and compiling honoree stories, you kind of can't help but come to that takeaway. If anyone hasn't had a chance to read through all of the IWIM honoree profiles in the ebook, we strongly encourage you to do so. Lisa Caton Levine, who's now the Business Manufacturing and Technology Center Director at Dow Chemical, she was an engineer at a small manufacturing site, and she figured that the leadership roles in the plant were not compatible for her with having small children. So she planned to quit when her children were born. A chance meeting with a plant production leader, a woman who had a young family of her own and who assured Lisa that it was indeed doable to ascend into a leadership role in the company while having a family, convinced Lisa to continue pursuing her manufacturing career ambitions. As Lisa describes, she went home and she started her own local women's network. 20 years later, Lisa crossed paths with that woman again, that woman who truly changed her life. They met up when they both spoke on a leadership panel in front of 300 young engineers. Another IWIM honoree, Carol Patak, in 2000 became the first and so far only woman to be both president and CEO of APEX, the Supply Chain Society. Carol started her manufacturing career on the shop floor earning minimum wage. Kelly Finch, who's here today, she's Director of Technology at Watcom Milk Products. She started in an administrative role before moving to a newly formed IT department. She later went back to school to earn her bachelor's degree, did this while balancing her full-time career and raising her family, and she graduated with a 3.98 GPA. These stories inspire us, and IWIM honorees, they inspire those around you. We are honored to help shed further light on them, and your work to elevate women in the field, in part because we recognize how important visibility is. To that point, more than 70% of women who participated in a Women in Manufacturing survey from, again, Deloitte and the Manufacturing Institute last year, said they believe that women are underrepresented in their company's leadership team. 7 in 10 feel they don't see adequate representation of women in key decision-making roles in their company. Now, manufacturers and other industrial companies have made strides recently. For example, Land O'Lakes in July named Beth Ford its new CEO, and she became the first openly gay woman to lead a Fortune 500 company. Divya Suryadevara became GM's new CFO on September 1st. That move made GM one of only 2 companies in the Fortune 500, the other actually is Hershey, to have women in both the CEO and CFO roles. These prominent, publicly visible appointments are good news, absolutely, but there's more to do. I was struck this summer by a comment that Jennifer Scanlon, who's the CEO of USG Corp in Chicago, made at a Women in Industry event downtown. She noted that while it's great to see more women in the C-suite in industry, are we also working to ensure that the leadership pipeline remains robust? That there's a strong pool of candidates one rung below the C-suite? We know that policies that support equal access to career development opportunities can support that kind of talent cultivation that's so vital. Where do manufacturing's next leaders, next executives, the people who will continue to advance the industry, where do they want to work? At an organization that approaches accommodation for things like paid family leave or flex time as a hassle? Or ones that view these shifts as an investment in their future leaders and their company's reputation? Diversity of leadership requires intention. It demands intentional commitment. For one thing, being intentional with each hiring about ensuring that a diverse group of candidates, of capable candidates, is considered for a given role. Women, I would put forth, are in a great position to do this. Women are good at anticipating how situations can change, what future needs may be, and or who can help meet these future demands. Moreover, we act on that awareness quickly. That's one reason that it's so valuable to have women at the hiring level throughout an organization. A Hewlett-Packard internal report a few years back suggested that men will apply for a job when they meet only 60% of the stated qualifications for the position. Women will apply, they tend to apply only when they meet 100% of them. It's not a matter of lack of confidence about being able to do the job well. A leadership author, Tara Moher, she did some follow-up research to that report, and she found that for both men and women who didn't apply for a given job, confidence was a non-issue. But women were more likely than men to say they hadn't applied because they were following guidelines about who should apply. Among our IWIM honorees, both Lisa Kate Levine and Rebecca Holland-New of Thermo Fisher Scientific have stories about identifying and helping to elevate talented individuals, men and women, into key leadership roles, helping them ascend to positions where they were truly able to shine. It's not about promoting a woman because she's a woman. It's about considering, intentionally, who would be the right person for this job, for this team? Who has the skill sets that this team needs, that this team is going to need 5 or 10 years from now? And has that person applied or been formally considered yet? This responsibility isn't all on women, of course. Support for elevating underrepresented groups should be led from the top, from whoever holds the top roles, whatever those individuals' gender, race, or age. Actually, the Chicago Cubs have a motto this year, a slogan to inspire fan support. It's #everybody-in, and that's what it takes, everybody in. It's vital to note, too, that working toward greater representation of women at all levels of an organization, it's not just about leading by example, though of course that's valuable. And it's not just about good optics. It can absolutely benefit the bottom line. A study from not-for-profit research organization Catalyst earlier this year found that when it came to return on sales, companies with the highest percentage of women board directors outperformed those with the lowest percentages by, on average, 42%. And looking at return on invested capital, companies with the highest shares of women board directors outperformed those with the lowest by an average of 66%. A separate study this year from financial planning firm MSCI also found that companies that had 3 or more women on their board of directors did better financially than those that didn't. It is abundantly clear. There is value, any way it's defined, in working toward greater representation of women in industry, especially in key decision-making roles within a company. We know that the work doesn't end with hiring. Past that stage, we need to consider what structures are in place to help underrepresented groups get engaged within an organization and seize opportunities for further career development. It was pointed out earlier this week that one area that traditional industrial companies often struggle with in trying to make this whole digital journey is hiring people who aren't like the people who've worked there for 30 or 40 years. If a company's bringing on a wider range of people and or people who have a wider range of skill sets, what's being done to ensure that they can make the contribution they were hired to make. It's an idea that Marie Getzeg pointed out on Monday, respect for different perspectives that each individual brings to the table. Outreach and inclusion, that is such a crucial dimension of the work that these influential women in manufacturing are doing. Rockwell Automation Business Development Manager Linda Freeman, for example, is a life member and volunteer with the Society of Women Engineers, or SWE. She was also a key developer of Rockwell's SWE Resource Group, which helps women attain technical and leadership skills to prepare them for promotions and other opportunities at the company. And that group, beyond its internal work, it reaches out at the pre-college level to educate students about opportunities in manufacturing. Mary Bunzel, Marie Getzeg, Peggy Gulick, Rebecca Hollenew, and Rhonda Lomenzel, all of whom are here this morning. They all cited in their IWIM comments the value of personal mentors, what mentors have meant to them, and how they take time, amidst their insanely busy lives, how they take time to speak one-on-one with junior employees who are strategizing about their next moves. It takes deliberate effort. It takes personal and organizational commitment to address industry's immediate and looming workforce challenges. 75 years after Rosie the Riveter, women more than ever are a vital part of the talent solution for manufacturing at all levels of industry. The 22 women in our inaugural class of influential women in manufacturing are excelling in critical initiatives to drive the industry forward. They're achieving huge wins for their organization and helping to truly advance the U.S. manufacturing industry. On behalf of the IWIM committee, on behalf of Putman Media, we applaud you, we thank you, and we'd just like to say, you rock. We can't wait for 2019, and we hope you can't either. We thank you for being here today. We thank Rockwell Automation, our sponsor of this program, for their incredible support. And we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.